What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the O Show. This is episode 362 with our very special guest via Zoom. We got Mr. Tommy Chong in the house. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Couldn't be better.
That is amazing. Great attitude to have. Thanks so much. That I'm glad we got to do this. Again, we had like a short 2-minute call on Cameo. You're gracious enough to do those Cameo calls, and we were able to set this up. Are you having a fun time with that? It's kind of a unique way to interact with the fans.
I love it. I love the TikTok. Where my wife and I are on TikTok almost every week, and I'm doing Zoom cameos. I love it. I love it. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't even have to wear pants. I love that.
That's the unique thing about COVID, though. Like, we've been able to adapt to calls just in your house. You don't have to do anything, and you can actually have face-to-face conversations with people that you probably wouldn't be able to if it was in person. It's a lot easier.
For sure. Absolutely. Be too busy. Too busy running around doing a lot of useless stuff. But no, I love. Well, I love my life. Mm-hmm. I'm really at peace with myself, and I just love everything that's going on around me, regardless if it's uncomfortable or comfortable or whatever. It's all good.
Well, it's an awesome attitude to have, man. And I'm so pumped to talk to you today about so many different things. Would love to pick your brain, about kind of, your music inspirations. Obviously, you're big in the cannabis world and the marijuana world as well. Acting, obviously, Cheech and Chong, you guys have been, together for 40 plus years, 50, I don't even know. But first things first, I do want to, give a shout out to Great Vibes, your new CBD line. What kind of inspired you to do that in that regard?
Well, my son, Paris, he and our partner, John Paul Cohen, we started exploring as soon as we became legal, medically, in Colorado, I think first, and then everywhere else. We started, getting involved in the business because I've been an advocate forever, and then we with the research we found out that the CBD doesn't have the amount of THC in there that would qualify it as a mood altering or as a drug, what used to be illegal. So we immediately got into the CBD business, and we hooked up with this great company, and they got me on all the social networks, and I'm one of those guys that's a pain in the ass for a lot of people, because every time they open up their computer, I'm there selling my CBD. So it's kind of like sweet revenge, I because I like. I like advertising. Like I watch car advertising, and it makes me want to buy a car.
Yeah.
Even though I don't need one. So I like ads. That's actually been our entertainment while we've been locked down. You get hooked on some of these ads because they're so well done, and they're so psychologically well done.
Oh,
yeah, and you can learn a lot off that. There was a time, when people really kind of dissed any kind of advertisement. That was, what was the word? Oh, it's so commercial, But to me, it's information. I like learning. And I like finding out things. No, I'm not that keen on remembering, but I definitely like the excitement of or the thrill of learning something. And I think I learned that in prison, because when I did time in jail, I hooked up with an old con that had been there forever. And I told him, I said, teach me how to do time. Teach me how to do prison time. And the first thing they teach you, or he taught me, was reading books. He said, you'll never get a chance like this ever, And so I got into reading and just exploring. And that was one thing about Cheech. Cheech is a great reader, and he has a great memory. And so him and my wife, Shelby, they always have great conversations because they've always read the latest book, which I haven't read. Because with me, unless it has something to do with music, sports, or drugs, I'm not really interested.
Did you watch the Mayweather Paul fight this Sunday?
No, I never. What happened?
It's just getting a ton of mixed reviews. I was gonna want to try to get your take on it, but like it was more of like kind of obvious that it was rigged and that it was kind of just a money grab for those two guys.
That no one was going to get hurt.
Exactly, and
yeah,
that's the plan. But like,
but that's the way Mayweather fights anyway.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't like to get hit, and that's why he's so successful.
Oh my God, I know.
But think about it, man. You get bumped accidentally by one of those guys, and you're hurting for months. Can you imagine getting in the ring and then going at it full speed to hurt yourself? I've watched the Ali Fraser fights, both of them. Oh, I felt so bad for Muhammad Ali more than Joe. Because Joe was hopped up on something, he was drinking some kind of juice, and because that's the only reason he could stay there, except when Joe got in there with Foreman, his rope of dope, he almost got sent over the ropes. But yeah, I know I didn't see that fight.
No, but that would have been very interesting, at least me looking back at it. I'm 22 years old, so you got a few miles on me. But
oh yeah,
I would have loved to have been alive during that era, whether it be the Ali Frazier era or even Tyson and Holyfield and all these big fights back when boxing was like the shit back in the day. You met Muhammad Ali, right?
Oh yeah, I got to know him. I got to know him. Can I tell you my Muhammad Ali story?
Yeah.
Bobby Taylor, the singer that I was in the band, that really got me on the map.
Right.
Went to the Olympics with Muhammad Ali. Bobby was one of these sort of shadowy guys. You're not really sure. He was one of these guys that knew everybody intimately. And so I don't know the whole story about him going to the Olympics with Muhammad Ali, but anyway, I know for a fact that Muhammad Ali and Bobby were friends. They knew each other, and so right when he lost his, the judge or the government took away his title, and he was going around giving shows and speeches. He was in San Francisco, and he had a little night one night affair with a friend of mine who was a stripper, a dancer named Scarlett, Lady Scarlett. And so, just by coincidence, I was in San Francisco, and then Lady Scarlett told me, guess who I was with? Muhammad Ali. And so I was heading into Detroit the next day. So I got on the plane, went to Detroit, and then I got home, and Bobby called me and says, "Hey, come on over. The champ's coming over. Muhammad Ali's coming over to my apartment." So I got in the car and went, and I happened to get on the elevator exactly with Muhammad Ali. Now, he didn't know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're riding up to we're going to the same place. Well, he doesn't know about it. And so, and he's kind of ignoring me, he nodded, but he's looking at the wall, he doesn't want to get in any conversation. And so I'm riding up there. And so halfway up, I said, Lady Scarlett says to say hi.
That probably wasn't knowledge.
he turned and looked at me. His eyes got all big, that Muhammad Ali look. He looked at me like, "You the devil?" And then we walked to the same door. And Bobby, "Hey, champ, what's up, man? Hey, this is Tommy Chong. Oh, you guys know each other?" And so we took pictures. But my first wife was there, so we couldn't get into any detail about Lady Scarlet. But he was so sharp, man, and we had a laugh at that because he was that, those guys back then, and probably still now, but more back then, they were like kind of into the voodoo, the black magic stuff. That was really. I mean, yeah, he was a Muslim, and before that, he was, I guess, a Christian, but all of them got that voodoo, that the hates.
Oh my God, yeah, that's not the type of guy you want to piss off.
You know, he was more than just an athlete.
Right.
He was way more than just an athlete. And so, I mean, you think about how ahead of his time he was. Oh my God, in every which way. They were still trying to put nicknames on black people. The Brown Bomber, the Assassin, the blah blah. Just like pro wrestlers. Because once you put a nickname tag on someone, you take away the human qualities.
Oh yeah.
And you make this sort of like a superhero, mythical person, And I noticed that in Calgary, where I grew up, the football players, all the black ones had nicknames, Sugarfoot Anderson, and all this just blatant racist tags, But times have changed, and like, when Muhammad Ali went from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, man, I mean, it just shocked and pissed everybody off, including a lot of black people too,
Mm-hmm.
Because well, America does, they demonize anything black, like Muslims. All of a sudden, it's the black Muslims. Well, it's always been black Muslims, But in America, also the black Muslims. Oh man! But times are changing, aren't they?
1000% probably. I mean, you probably went through it yourself. Being one of like the first big time celebrities that like knowingly, publicly, smoked marijuana and all of this stuff, because it was not accepted back in the day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, to this day, Cheech and I are literally blackballed from the. I was just looking at an article I did, from the when you list comedians,
Mm-hmm.
we're not in the list, we're not on the list, and like we've never hosted Saturday Night Live, for instance, but Saturday Night Live had their actors play Cheech and Chong, and so that's like a cancel culture trip right there. So yeah, we've had it, but you know what, it's a medal of honor. It puts us apart from the crowd, in so many ways. We just finished shooting a documentary.
Oh wow.
It's more like a film. It's beyond documentary. It's a little more than a documentary, and that's what that because we had to rehash our history and our lives and that, and just shooting it and thinking about it, we changed so much for so many, and we're still doing it,
Oh yeah.
and it's people, they, when they look at people like myself, they kind of think in terms of, wow, he's really famous, but it all came with a price, and that was the price. but it pays off in so many ways. Like not being on Saturday Night Live, it become a plus, not a minus.
Wow.
And yeah, and I accept it. One of the things when Cheech and I just finished this movie, part of the movie they wanted some conflict between Cheech and I, and so we started digging up old wounds, like why we broke up, and it was what do you call it, soul searching, because when you think about what we had, I mean, we were locked in, but then again, because we weren't really a comedy duo in that sense, the traditional sense. Like they usually, each act has their own comedy act, and then they decide, well, if we team up, we can go a lot further. That wasn't us, that wasn't us. It was all sort of serendipity, kind of put together in such a kind of a freaky way that I had no control over it. Cheech never had any control over it. Nobody had any control over it. It was like the universe saying, okay, you guys, we need you. It's your turn. Get in there, and this is what you got to do, and good luck.
Right. It was meant to happen. Like there was going to be a few bumps in the road, maybe still are. Like it's been a long journey, obviously, but that's what you were meant to do. Like that's like I don't want to say your masterpiece. You've done a lot of stuff, but what you've done with Cheech, like just the chemistry you guys have and everything that you've been through. I mean, it's pretty astonishing to see what you guys have accomplished throughout the years.
Yeah, and it wasn't really for us personally.
Yeah.
Cheech sacrificed because his sacrifice, believe it or not, was his image.
Mm-hmm.
Because he dove into a very frowned upon by the Latino community image. That usually that it was a non-Hispanic guy would play that character. But Cheech not only played it, but he created a whole genre. He took those, the lowrider image and made it not only acceptable, but gave it some kind of cred that is still there, and because it wasn't him, that the Cheech is very well educated, and can hold his own with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
in the white world, so to speak, but he sacrificed, and this is what we're talking about, because we could have stayed together, and blah blah blah, but everything we did was from a very honest point. When Cheech realized that he didn't have to play that character, that he could become who he really is, then that was a sign of success for us, because with us it was never about money. We never went into it thinking, oh, we're going to make a fortune, and then when we're done, blah blah blah, well, just like the fight, what's the name? Mayweather fight.
Right.
I mean, all they're doing now is just cashing in on the publicity and the glory.
Right.
Like Tyson could have done that had he not bit Holyfield's ear. I mean, that could have been Tyson's thing. But Tyson, he's like Cheech and Chong. He's a wild man.
Oh yeah.
And he was there just for until what I told people, and I still maintain, why did you guys break up? I did this in an act, and my answer was, we got rich. And the truth is, you can't make a rich Mexican do shit. And, I'd say, Cheech, come on, we got to work. He'd say, I don't think so, man. I'm going to stay here and do something for my people. Yeah, I'm going to learn Spanish. And it got a big laugh, but so true in so many ways.
Oh my God, for sure. You guys did the Hot Box podcast with Tyson, right?
Yeah, we did.
What's that like? Because like I see it on video and I'm like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. But at the same time, like you're in.
Well, they had to edit it. They had to edit it down because there was a lot of dead space on that show. I had my guy from TikTok, Clayton. He was sitting in the audience and he could read my mind, because TikTok, boom, we're in and out of it. But Tyson's thing, there were like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of silence. We're just sitting there all stoned. But Tyson was great, man. Oh, he loved Cheech and Chong.
Oh, yeah.
Because he loves to laugh. He's a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a comedic sense of everything he does, because he's a very special guy. Very special. And honest to a point, just so honest. That's what I loved about Mike, Cheech asked him, he says, you were the first to get a tattoo on your face. What was the story behind it? And Cheech was kind of like, I guess, kind of going intellectual, because people do things, because they read, the mark of something. And Tyson says, why did you do, when she said, why did you do the tattoo? He said, because I'm a wild man. I'm wild, man. Yeah, I'm crazy. Such a great answer.
That is the perfect answer. And that was probably a blast. I mean, you've probably, throughout the years, and you've probably gotten this question on every interview you've ever done, but I guess I kind of wanted to ask you what some of the more exciting experiences when it came to smoking with either celebrities or just people that you're close with have been. Do you have specific ones? Like I'll give you like a top 3 of what, like some of your favorite stories of people that you've smoked with over the years.
Well, I guess Timothy Leary was one. He wasn't that much into pot as he was into acid and ketamine. You got to try that ketamine. I had a great conversation with Timothy because he was going on about, leaving Earth and getting a spaceship and finding another Earth, I guess that was his message when he got high. But I was at odds with him. I told Tim, I says, we're on a spaceship. It's called Earth. We're going through space in comfort. I mean, can you imagine? That's why, when they talk about, the UFOs, this intelligence from another, you know what they are the most? You know what they are, the UFOs? They're drones. Like we send drones to Mars. Can you imagine some Martian going, oh, the space people are here. I saw them flying around, They're drones. When you're that evolved that you can send drones to another planet, that's evolved evolution, And I believe, I told Joe Rogan this, that Earth, that this universe that we see is ours. There's no other life on it but ours. And because we're trapped in a time bubble because we're on Earth. We're on Earth's time, you see. And we're the only ones on Earth's time. And so it's very conceivable that this universe is ours by virtue of how far we can go while we're on our spaceship. We can send drones anywhere. And we can look on TV and say, gee, I wonder what that is, you know. But to actually be there, we don't have to be there. Because once you're evolved, you see, right, what we are now, we're like the butterfly and the caterpillar, okay? We're coming out of the caterpillar, coming into the butterfly. We're not quite to the butterfly yet, where we can fly and do that yet, but we're close. In a few years, evolution will be at that point. But I take it back. We will always be here. This is the school. But our spirit is what travels and has no bounds, because there can be countless, like Jesus said when he was on the cross, or where he was preaching, he said, there are many mansions in my Father's house, meaning there are many universes in eternity. And we, right now, we are definitely in the lower echelons of the thing. We still got people that believe in Trump, for instance. That's how far we have to go with our evolution. They're the ones that are kind of dragging their knuckles on the ground because they haven't quite got out of the tree habit, and but that's cool, because we've all gone through that, and this is what happens in the Earth experience, because that's what we're doing now. We're in probably grade 3, maybe a little out of elementary, in the space of what we have to learn. But the great thing, like I told Tim, is that we're not only on a spaceship, but oh man, we're here for as long as we need to be, And then when we evolve, we go somewhere else. So don't worry about that spaceship, Tim. Now, talk about other people getting high with, probably George Harrison, of the Beatles. Now, I've met all the Beatles except Paul, and I've gotten stoned, not with them, but in their presence.
Oh, wow.
With like John Lennon, I didn't know he was in the room. He was sitting on the floor. He was a really true hippie, man. I'm in Lou Adler's bedroom, smoking a big, fat, stinky joint. And I look over, there's someone sitting on the floor. Oh, it's John Lennon. So I walk over and offered him a toke, and he goes, I know, Mike, we get troubles with immigration. Okay. So then I don't know what to do. I'm kind of, this is John Lennon. I'll stare at him for a while. And then Rod Stewart walks in the room. And of course, Rod goes right over to the mirror and starts fluffing up his hair, trying to get that unruly hair to be more unruly. And so I offered Rod, so, hey, Rod, you want to hit? And he goes, no, my throat. And I don't blame him, because it was a stinky joint. It's one of those, is there a skunk in here or something? And then I walked out. After then I thought, I better put this joint out. Nobody wants it. So I walked out into the hallway, and I run right into Jack Nicholson. And I'm a big fan of Jack Nicholson's acting, And so, and I'm stoned. And so right away I see Jack, and Jack, I love you in that last detail, that movie. Oh, it's great, man. Tell me. And, I'm talking to him like I've known him all my life. I said, Jack, that scene where you're combing your hair, it like took forever, man. Now, was that improv, or was that written in the script? And he said, excuse me, man, you're kind of in my way. He shot me down like, But it was a crazy party, man. It was such a crazy party. My dad, I brought my dad to it, you know, and I think it was when we opened for the Stones. I think that's what it was. And Lou had a party. But anyway, Mick Jagger, my dad's standing in line, and Mick Jagger is in front of my dad at the food line. And Mick is talking to somebody, and my dad's, excuse me, sir, you want to move along? Trying to get some food here. And my dad had no idea who Mick Jagger was. And to this day, he never would, you know, it wasn't his cup of tea. But yeah, I've had some interesting, you know, things. One time, I was just watching TV, and they're talking about, was Jimi Hendrix murdered?
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I was with Jimmy months before he died. You know, it was kind of freaky because he was kind of in between gigs, if you can imagine.
Wow.
And we were playing. We were in England playing at some club. What was it? It wasn't a club. It was a theater with backing up Chris Clark. And Chris had started doing one of the Beatles songs, "Got to Get You Into My Life." And I think that was one of the reasons they had us over there. You know? And one of the perks was that our band, Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, got us a gig at a club called the Speakeasy, I believe. And anyway, we just started playing away, and first set, and Jimmy walks in with a big entourage. The club was empty until he walked in, and then he had like 100 people behind him. He walked in like the Prince, you know. And he walks up to the stage. He goes, "Hey, Tommy, mind if I sit in?" And first of all, that's Jimi Hendrix. Second of all, he called me by my name. And then I found out later that he was from Seattle, and he was aware of our band because he had played in all these other Isley Brothers and all that other. He was an R&B guitar player, so he knew who Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers were. And I think he would come up to Seattle, from Seattle to Vancouver, to see us play in our after hours club. Anyway, I took off my guitar. You know, I'm really thrilled. But he's a left-handed guitar player, and so he says, "No, mate, I'll play bass." And so our poor bass player, man, he's a big young kid, black kid. He's a big Jimmy fan, and he had to take off his bass and hand it to Jimmy. and Jimmy played the shit out of this bass, man, right-handed, not left-handed, but right-handed. Oh man, that night was so special. They had to pull the plug on us because we wouldn't quit playing. He wouldn't quit playing. Yeah, he was in his glory, man. Oh. Because one of the things, you know, when you start off, you're playing in a band. One of the thrills is that's your gig. You're playing all night, you know, not just a show. And that was one of the things when you start doing shows, that you had that one shot at it, you know. And yeah, but when you're playing dance, you can cruise, you can kick back the first set, you know, maybe play a little jazz along with your hot hit tunes, and second set, third set you're playing, and maybe the last set then you kick back a little bit, you know. So he really missed that, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And so after the gig, we all went up to our hotel room, you know, because all the rest of the band, man, they were like me, you know, just blown away. We got Jimmy, man, and Bobby Taylor was one of those. He would act like he'd known Jimmy all his life, because he probably did, you know, somehow. But anyway, Jimmy gets to our hotel room, goes in the bathroom, and we don't see him the rest of the night. he stayed in the bathroom the whole night, because you know what he did. You know, he's shooting up, and we're out in the other room smoking pot and looking at each other. Fucking Jimi Hendrix in the bathroom, man. And that was it. That was the last time we saw Jimmy.
Wow. I mean, that had to be a surreal experience. Just, I mean, having your bass player, just, I'd be honored if it was like, yeah, sure, take my stuff, take all of it, kick
Oh
ass.
yeah, yeah. Well, in a way, he was. Oh, you know, a nice cap on that story. This is freaky.
Tell it.
Next day, we're on our way to the airport. That was our last night there, and we're riding in a limousine that the Beatles would ride around in.
Right.
And so we're not only, you know, playing with royalty, but now we're in a limo, and everybody starts talking about Hendrix. And then there was a lull in the conversation, and I said, and I remember this clearly, I'm going to be bigger than Hendrix. And the band got really quiet. They all looked at me because I was musically, I was at the low end of the totem pole compared to the rest of the guys. You know, the drummer was phenomenal. We had another guitar player, Eddie Patterson, still phenomenal. You know, with the guitar hands and everything. Bobby too, the vocalist was supreme, blew everybody away. I was the weakest guy in the band, but I wrote the song, so that was why I was there, and I owned the club, and that was another reason why I was there. And I've always hired people that I can learn from, you know. Never had to be the top guy. I'd rather be the bottom guy learning from the top guys, you know. And the only difference between me and them was the hours of practice that they put in, and I never did. And so when I said that, I'm going to be bigger than Hendrix, everybody stopped talking in the car, and they all looked at me. And the drummer, he never liked anybody, but but when anybody, he'd bust everybody. And so he said, you're going to be bigger as a guitar player? And I said, you know, because he knew my weakness. I said, no. I said, I don't know how, but I know I'm going to be bigger. And that was the end of the conversation. And then months later, Jimmy died. And now I am going to be bigger than Jimmy. I'm going to be more alive than Jimmy anyway.
I have more time than Jimmy now to be bigger than Jimmy.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. That is an unbelievable story. I mean, just alone getting to see him play up front with you guys. I mean, you guys had the honor of watching an 8-year-old Michael Jackson perform in front of you too. Like, who's the most real person you've ever seen perform live?
Michael? Oh my God. Yeah, well, that whole tour was all done during the Poor People's March on Washington. Okay. We recorded Does Your Mama Know About Me while Detroit was smoldering. It was still burning from the riots. And our band, it was a mixed band, you know, white guys, black guys. And we were the only mixed band around. And there were times when we had to protect the white guys. And because I was kind of in between. You know, I wasn't white, I wasn't black, but I was in between. Right. But there were white guys that we had to protect, like in Chicago. They got mugged in Chicago, the white boys. When they went to the cops said, well, we know who did it. If you guys want to stick around and press charges, we'll go get them. But if not, forget it. And no one wanted to stick around, so it was like, forget it. But that time that's when Martin Luther King was going. That's when LA riots were happening. Detroit riots were going on. I mean, it was like turmoil everywhere. And it was a race war. And it's still going on. But when we got to Detroit, and Does Your Mama Know About Me? It was just that song's, Diana Ross heard it, and right away that's when she told Barry, and that's when he signed us. No, actually, it wasn't the song. She heard us in the club that we played, but it was that song was part of the Vancouvers when we got to Detroit. Next thing you know, we come out with the first, anti racist song.
Mm-hmm.
And then right away, all the writers shifted, for Diana Ross, Love Child, and Papa got a brand new, Papa was a Rolling Stone, and all these songs come out, the songwriters. But my song, Does Your Mama Know About Me, was the very first. It was a poem. I wrote a poem, and and Tom Baird, our arranger, friend of ours, friend of the band's. Our band was so cool because of Bobby and no, Tommy Milton, the other singer too. He had that charisma too. Um, all the good musicians would come and sit in with us when they weren't playing their gigs. Like PJ Perry from Edmonton, great alto player. This kind of guy would make you think of Charlie Parker when you heard him play. And he would come in and sit in. And so we'd have an all-star band wherever we went, Well, like Jimmy did. That's what Jimmy came and sat in, just like all those guys, So we had all the people, all the great people, and some of the great blues singers, when they were in town, they'd come down and sit in with our band because we had that feel,
Mm-hmm.
We had that feel. We had that playing music for the love of the music, not for the club, not to make money, not to, then you got paid. That was a plus.
Yeah.
But the biggest aim was to get together and play tunes that we heard, not on the radio especially, but someone heard, and you got to hear this one, Like for a while there, with Bobby Taylor, we did the whole the Impressions, Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions. We did their whole songbook. And when we got to Detroit, Detroit's at Motown and the Temps and everything else, but we got up there and did the Curtis Mayfield songs. And Barry Gordy was sitting in the front row, and he kept calling me over. And, what's the name of that song? Did you write that song? We said, no, it's from the Impressions. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, all right. Barry was a trip man.
Oh my God! I mean, you've been doing so many different things, whether it's music, whether it's comedy, acting. List doesn't have to be in that order, but given that you've done all of these different things, who is by far the most funny comedian that you've ever been around, and vice versa, best musician, best actor, and who have you kind of learned from throughout all of these processes?
Well, you learn from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I probably learned as much from Mums Maberly as I did from Red Fox or Richard Pryor. One of the greatest compliments we've ever had was right after we did Up in Smoke. We had a dispute with our former management, and Cheech and I were basically unemployed, so we had to go back on the road as comedians, and we had work for months, because of the movie. And so we opened at the Comedy Store. We did a week there, and the first night we got off stage, and Richard Pryor was holding out his hand to help us off the stage. That was probably, it's like being knighted by the Queen, Richard Pryor, the funniest man at that time, holding his hand out saying, "Welcome to the club." That was sweet. Yeah, when we got into the comedy world, Cheech and I, well, because before the comedy world, it was a music thing, but all the bands that I was in had to be funny. For one reason was that when we first started playing rhythm and blues, I was 17, and I met Tommy knew me, Tommy Milton. He was like the singer. He was a football star, running back. And then he knew of this kid, Bernie Sneed, who played piano. And so I met Bernie, and then that's when I met my first wife, Maxine. Maxine was Bernie's sister. And then I met the younger brother, Floyd. Well, Floyd, he's still alive. He's got a little problem with dementia, but he was one of the funniest, most talented kids I've ever had the pleasure of watching grow up. I watched him grow up from, I think he was 11 at the time when I met him. Then he grew into a man, and he ended up being our drummer for quite a while. Then he grew into this big 6 foot plus hunk, you know. And then he played with us until him and Tommy got in a big fight one day, argument. And Floyd, we watched this kid grow up, you know, all of a sudden he's big, and not only big, but he played hockey. Now that's a clue. When you play hockey and you're that big and you're black, one thing you can do is fight. And I take it back. One thing you can do is hurt people, because there wasn't much of a fight. My brother used to fight, but Floyd and that type, they would hurt people. It would take one shot, boom, they're down. Well, Floyd was, like I said, one of the funniest guys ever. See, he's still alive, and he's still funny. And he's an artist, too. I got some paintings of him. But his humor, that's where I got where I was inspired. Not consciously, but subconsciously, because I'd been around him. And he'd babysit kids, you know, when he got around 12, 13. And he would have fun with these kids. Like he would take them when they act crazy or bad, or even if they didn't do anything, he'd pick them up and hang them on a door. They'd be hanging there. And then they'd say, "No, you stay there until I bring you down, okay?" And he'd open the door. You'd open the door, and here'd be a kid come around. There was a kid hanging on the back of the door. Well, he amused himself and amused everybody, but he also kept the kids from running around and doing all crazy stuff. And Floyd, he just had this great talent. And he started out playing bongos first, but then he evolved into being one of the best drummers. He ended up being the founding drummer of the Three Dog Night. So the group, the Three Dog Night, the original, that's Floyd, the only black guy in the whole white band. And not only white band, but a couple were racists. They were from the South. And so they weren't that keen on Floyd, but Floyd was so good. He was the best drummer in LA at that time. And that's why he got picked to be in the band. But he right now he's in assisted living because he has a bit of dementia. But even now he's still being funny. Well, Bobby Taylor, when we got signed with Motown, we never had a name for the group. To show you the comedy, we heard about this band in the South called 10 Screaming Ends. You know, the N word. It was 10 Screaming Ends. And so then we thought, why don't we call ourselves 4 N's and a C? And of course, Motown didn't even react. They just ignored it, and we called us Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. That was our Motown name. But our original name was 4 N's and a C. And my dad, who was a C, he was Chinese. He was unaware that we put it on the marquee. Right, so everybody could see it, and it made national news. Of course, it would. AP press phoned me up and wanted to know if that's true, and I said, "Oh yeah." And that night that we opened with that name on the marquee, we had one customer, and it was a very angry large black lady named Lottie the Body. She was a lady wrestler.
Ah, there you go.
And so she's sitting in the audience. She goes, "Well, I see the ends, but where's the C?" And my dad, who was the C, he comes up and starts giving her a lecture. Well, Lottie gets up, grabs my dad, and body slams him on the dance floor. And I went, oh, that's my dad. I took out my guitar and I run down there, and she body slams me on the dance floor. And then all the ends, all my buddies are up there on the stage laughing like crazy. And they knew better than to get in any kind of ruckus with Lottie the body. So in the end, my brother and I think I guess just my brother kind of calmed Lottie down and took her out. And so we had to change the name. And so it went from 4 N's and a C to 4 colored guys and a Chinese lad. And then Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers.
Yeah. Oh my God. That probably wouldn't have gone well over. Even the new name probably wouldn't have gone well over today.
No. Well, I got mixed feelings about that, you know. Of course I have. Now, lately I've been watching the Dean Martin roast. Mm-hmm. And it's a slice of time that I grew up, you know, in that era. And their jokes, man, you couldn't even do you couldn't do the whole show if it wasn't the fact that it's already done. That show would never, you know, they're not going to roast anybody, because the roast really was an excuse to get up there and be racist, you know, but in a funny way. And that's the greatest thing, you know, when you're joking and you know, but yet you're for human rights, you know, like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, all those guys, and they would make the jokes, but they walked the walk, they would talk the talk, you know, and that's what they had to do, and that's what, you know, Frank did for years, but there's no way. Well, first of all, you know, I always talk about Lenny Bruce, and so one day my son, who had heard of him, he knows my history, and I always talked about Lenny Bruce. He heard Lenny Bruce. He never got the joke, not at all. He didn't think Lenny was funny at all, because, you know, Lenny was the 50s. He was in the 50s, and he talked about racial inequality all back then. And he had really good jokes about it, you know. But and he talked about drugs, and you know, and Lenny kept getting arrested for swearing. And then I saw that Billie Holiday movie just recently, where she was getting arrested for singing a song about lynching, and they would arrest her. That's how racist that we grew up in that. I grew up in that cloud. I'd been on the road with the Vancouvers when we were playing in, I guess, in South Carolina, somewhere there, and we were about to do a white only show, and the reason I knew that was that when we pull up to a venue, there'd be a lot of little black kids out there wanting to carry your instrument, and you carry a few feet from the bus to the dressing room, and you give them a few bucks, you know, and tickets to the show. And so we pulled up. Little guy carries my bag, and I said, "Do you want tickets to the show?" And he said, "Oh, we're not allowed." I said, "What?" He said, "Oh no, it's, you know, like white only. It's a black show. It's Motown." I said, "What?" And I think it was what's his name, Smokey Robinson, headlining, and then Diana Ross. And so I don't know who I bitched to, but I did some major bitching, you know, and I said, you know, hey, the news got to know about this. And so they said they had black people in the show. Now they weren't sitting with the white people. They weren't in the front, never in the front row, but they had to mix that because I think it was even against the law, you know, to divide like that. But yeah, I've been there, and I seen that. And it's funny, I was the only non-black guy to bitch about it, because if you're black and you start making noises like that, man, you get singled out, you know. And not only that, you get lynched. Yeah, it was a trip. And me not being black, I could do that. I could stand up and say, hey, you know, that's not right. But now, whew, yeah, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go back on the road, you know, as with Cheech and Chong. You know, I don't think we will.
I mean, that is definitely one of the more interesting things, because again, the timeline from where you guys started to where you are now, going through all of this stuff, whether it be, you know, racial stuff or, you know, kind of getting, you know, the quote unquote cancel culture these days, when it came to stuff that you guys were doing, to see how much that's evolved over time is amazing.
Yeah.
And I wish we had more time to talk about it. I know we got a few minutes here. I did want to get to one story though, in particular. I'd regret it if I didn't ask you about it. Fact or fiction? Is it true that you cleared the chamber on a 6-foot bong on stage at a Snoop Dogg concert?
Yeah, I did. I paid the price, but I sure did. He had an Up in Smoke tour, because it was called Up in Smoke. You know, there's Tommy Chong, and with the 6-foot bong. There's a group in Detroit. I forget the name. Come on. Anyway, they wrote a song called 6-foot Tommy Chong, 6-foot bong. Yeah, yeah, I did. And I will never do that again. Oh my God. It's like, because to get the smoke up there, you really got to have some lungs, and I did. And I paid the price. But I got the cheers, you know, everybody cheered, yay! But oh my God, I almost passed out.
What compelled you to want to do the entire bong?
The crowd,
Yeah.
you know, I dare you, you know, that I
Right.
dare you. And so that's when you get stupid.
Kids call it.
That's when you get stupid. Oh yeah? Watch this. Here, hold my beer. Watch this.
Oh my God. I mean, that's incredible, man. And again, thanks so much for being gracious enough to take the past hour out of your time to talk to me here. You got obviously Good Vibes CBD that you're promoting. Is there anywhere we can find that moving forward, whether it be on social media?
Oh, I think you can get online, get no, I think it's get Tommy Chong CBD, or get CBD from Tommy Chong, something in there. It's got CBD and Tommy Chong and get. It's in there somewhere. That's what they give me. I'm the worst guy, because you know I'm computer illiterate. You know, but I have kids and I have grandkids that can help me. You know, and I love it. They don't teach you; they just grab your phone out of your hand and do it for you and hand it back.
No patience. No patience.
No, but hey, listen, people right now, you say anything, and if they want to verify, my wife does it all the time. I said something, she takes her phone out and looks at, oh, you're right, or no, you're wrong. So if you want to find Tommy Chong CBD, bad enough, you'll find it.
But we'll get it right. We'll promote it right. We got a studio here as well. We'd love to promote it for you if you ever wanted to.
Oh, I'd appreciate that, man.
That'd be amazing.
I'm looking to do a podcast or some kind of show, and I want to put the art into it, because I've always been interested in art, either looking at it or making it. You know, I have I have to train myself now. I'm more of an assembly line kind of worker. You know, just get it done and get it out. But art, you don't have to do that. You can take your time. And I've been making all kinds of smoking devices. mostly, pipes and that. And I'm going to start offering them. I'm thinking of doing sort of like a shoppers network thing with my art. I want to use art to further help the world. Not just our America, but the whole world, because we are all connected. And what happens in the shithole countries affect us in the nice countries. And so that's what I want to do with my time now, because it's kind of run out with Cheech and Chong as far as performing. Because right now, if Cheech and I entered a lookalike contest, we'd come in maybe ninth, because we've evolved. Like I said, we're almost that butterfly. Except maybe it's a reversal. Maybe we're almost that slug. We're almost that caterpillar.
Oh my God. Well, you're a man of many talents then. It's awesome to see you constantly evolve and try out different things.
Well, it's the only way to stay interested.
Yeah.
I think people leave this plane of existence when they become really too bored.
Yeah.
And then it's, oh, okay. And then the rest of your body goes, yeah, I'm bored too. Okay, let's call it quits. Okay, you ready? Okay. Heart attack or stroke? What do you think? What's the difference? Yeah. Because we're only here temporary, but our souls, our spirits are eternal. And that's who we really are. That's it. And that's why I found out. I found out quite early in life, how the power of the spirit, because that's all power is spiritual. All power, and that which isn't was never made.
That is deep stuff, man. I'm glad that, again, that we got the chance to do this and kind of talk about whether it be, some of the stories that you told or stuff like that, where it's just kind of like a lot of more people out there need to be, more open-minded and, have that thought process. Because things would be, I feel like, a lot easier mentally moving forward for a lot of people if they just kind of like opened up, let some stuff go, and just realize who's really in charge,
Yeah, well, there's different categories of people, people that are, and we need them all, by the way. If you want to look at how society is, study the animal kingdom, because we are of the animal kingdom, or study an anthill. When I was a kid, I lived in the country, and every once in a while we'd come across a big anthill. Now the older kids, their thing was to kick it, destroy it, Well, my thing was to watch them rebuild it, and that was incredible. I'm a big nature studier because I grew up. That was my friends. We never had a lawn; we had a field, and in that field, there's all sorts of creatures that lived there. Now, you never saw them because they would disappear. But if you sat there and quietly for long enough, they'd come out. And that's how I learned how to scuba dive. My brother was a scuba diver, and he lived right on the ocean. And I would take his equipment and put it on, and I'd go down about 10, 15 feet, and I put a rock on my lap, and I'd just sit there. And then the ocean would come alive, because I became one of the parts of the ocean. And so then all sorts of the fish would come around, they'd look at me and swim by, and then they'd do their job, they'd be hunting food, and there's a whole world. And we're just part of it. We're just part of it. And now we're in a better position than a lot of them, because we can help them. Like the pandemic really helped a lot of the wildlife. I got a whole fucking family of skunks living in my yard. And thank God my poodle, my son's poodle, attacked one time a couple of years ago, got sprayed. But my poodle, Captain, he's smart enough. He'll bark at him, but he stays his distance. He knows. But yeah, the whole planet needed to shut down, and they're thriving because of it now. Everything happens, and there's always a reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, again, I wish you the best of luck in everything you got moving forward. And again, thanks for being gracious enough to take the last hour out of your day, man. It was a blast talking to you. Easily one of my favorite interviews. This was episode 362 of the podcast with Tommy Chong. Enjoy the rest of your day, man.
Take care, brother. We'll see you again.